Well, thank you very much, Megan, for that. We are gathered for the May 11th, 2022 Town of Fishkill Comprehensive Plan Update Committee meeting. That is my entire portion of the evening done, so I'll pass it off to the voting members.
Let me restate what I just stated earlier, off the record, is that I think we should have the supervisor look into, see, we have 22 members and we only have 8 of us here today. All right. And I know we had 5 of them are excused because they did send their letter in today, but that's, 8 and 5 is 13. And then we're still missing, 9 additional members. And if they're not going to be active on this, I think the supervisor should drop them and point such additional people.
So again, I'll say what I said before, is that a notice should really go to them. An email should go to those people that originally agreed, to see what their status is, instead of just dropping them without any warning.
Well, Kenya, this is our 6th meeting, and if they've never shown up for one.
And my concern with bringing on new members is having to almost start from scratch, and would it put us behind our timeline would be my concern.
Well, guess what? They can listen to the oldies are on tape. They can sit down if they want to be a member. They can catch up by listening to the tape.
And I will reiterate what I had insinuated before our meeting began, when this point was first raised, which is that I can certainly bring this to the attention of the town supervisor. I would simply ask, Fred, that you phrase that request or suggestion in the form of an email to Liz and to myself, and I can forward that to the town supervisor. As the individual at the town who creates forms and appoints to informal committees such as this.
May I suggest that it be copied to Megan also, please?
Certainly.
Legal person here.
Megan, do I have your email?
Yeah, I'm on all the group emails. You should see my name there.
Are you with Drake Loeb?
Yep, that's me.
I got you.
Any more discussion on that item? If not, I'd like to hear comments on the vision statement. I know we've had some commentary by email. And just before everybody jumps in, and Jonathan, you can let us know your outlook on this, but so we're trying to do a vision statement. As we're creating this plan, most of the parts are going to be kind of moving parts. We're trying to put them together. So this is an important part, but theoretically, like the plan, the vision statement might be influenced by the results of the survey that 316 people completed online, and I'm still working with Greg to find out how many we got back. So just like anything we do at this meeting, we're going to get more information from that public input. I'll take notes and try to do a rewrite to put it back out there, because it's your vision statement. I'm just a vehicle to try to put the thoughts together. So that's it.
Yeah, if I could just mention one thing. I noticed that several people had responded with some comments, I think including at least Brian and Ann, who were putting comments on different versions of the draft vision statement from what Liz had just most recently circulated. And so my main point and hope is that anybody who is going to make further comments on the draft vision statement use Liz's version so that we know what we're dealing with. And we should also maybe no longer call them versions under people's names, but maybe make them, draft 3.10 or, something that doesn't connect it to a person, but rather this is going to be the committee's vision statement. And in fact, it's going to be the whole town's vision statement. So it really shouldn't be connected to any one person anymore. I think the initial drafts, that was okay, but we're beyond that now. And it gets very confusing if people don't know which version they're going to be responding to. So that's sort of my main initial comment.
And if I could just say this, the latest draft that I had emailed to you either yesterday or 2 days ago was based on one that had been drafted and then revised. And then I took all of the commentary, mostly from the last meeting, and tried to create this draft, which again should be reworked. So that was that were the mechanics of how this one came to be. That was emailed, and I usually date my documents. So
maybe labeling them by date and time then, and if it has a name attached to it, just remove that. Like Jonathan is kind of saying, that maybe that's the way we can keep them straight.
And just title it Comprehensive Plan Update Committee, Draft Vision Statement, version, whatever it is.
Yeah, the date and time, yada, yada.
I'll just talk a little bit. I think the way
1, 2, and 3 is going to be purple flowers coming out.
Oh, nice. See the brown, you could just peel the brown.
are we? Oh, so I think the newest version that Liz just circulated yesterday is very good. I like the sort of new format that starts with an introduction where we can talk about the town, pretty much where the town is now. And then the vision statement will be where the residents see the town going or where they would like the town to go. And so I had sent an email around a few days ago where I indicated that I had good intent to try to put together maybe a slightly expanded version of the introduction, because I think that's going to be a really good place to sort of show off the town a little bit. Where are we? What is the town like? What does it look like? What kinds of things are available here in the town? And then to embellish that with photographs that we had talked about. And I actually, a few days ago, had the opportunity to go out and start taking a little bit of the photographs. It's going to be a big job, I think, because there's a lot of ground to cover. So I was encouraging other people to get out with your cameras and start taking photos. And I had sent around a beginning of a list of possible photographs that we could use in the comprehensive plan update, partly in the vision statement text, but also in other parts of the whole comprehensive plan text. So, and I'm not that great a photographer, but I'm sure others on the committee are probably better than I am at it. But if we all can, take a shot at taking some photographs, and you could use the list that I drafted up as a start, but there are plenty other things we can take photos of. I think that would be really good.
Jonathan, I also sent a list to Liz way back when, and I just have 1 or 2 things I'd add to it. And I also sent her and Greg pictures that are available to us now of a lot of these, done by professional photographers already, which we could use or ask to be used. All right.
Yes.
And my list was a little more extensive than yours. The only
Did you
other thing
send
I'd
it
like
to everybody?
No, I only sent it to you, Liz.
Oh,
Can you send that to us, Liz? Because I'll go take some pictures.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm very familiar with the town of Fishkill. I went that round to everything. And the only thing I think I really forgot was the movie theater, which is entertainment, and the Gap. But I hit everything else that's historical or cemetery or firehouse or town hall, village hall, recreation. All right. And we have most of those already taken by photographers.
Greg,
And
did you
Greg, I
happen-
think, and I'm not sure I sent it to you, Greg. Did you find it, Liz?
I'm looking, but I mean, if you sent, I know I have them somewhere.
I sent it 2 days after the last meeting.
Yes, I know that I have seen that. I have not
Yeah.
moved anything on it since we haven't
No.
gotten quite to that point yet. But
Yeah.
I do know that I have it, and I will be happy to forward it to Liz tomorrow when I arrive at the
I
office.
know that I have it. I'm just, what's the
Exactly,
date?
but I can move it back.
Look, that's fine. We do have it, Jonathan. I was just to let you know that I've done a lot of stuff on that already. All right. And I like what you did. So, but again, a lot of yours things I already included in mine. And I was just
Here it
putting
is.
everything through Liz, not the whole committee.
I got it right here.
Oh, Good.
I found it.
Okay. So Liz, if you would send it out to the whole committee.
Mm-hmm.
And also, at the last meeting, Greg had indicated that and any of the photographs that have been on the town's newsletters for various activities and ceremonies could be available for our use.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and there's a lot on
town
that.
document. It's going to be an official town document, photos which are copyright of the town, and any photo that I've taken in the course of my work for the town that's been published by the town, they've got that ownership. So we can use any of those photos at all. And I'll be happy to go through at anyone's suggestion, or if anyone wants to go through the photos on our town Facebook page over the last couple of years and just say, hey, Greg, use this one. I'll pull it and create a special folder specifically for the comprehensive plan update document.
So,
Will we have access to that so that we can go through so we don't maybe get doubles?
well,
Yeah, I would be happy to make that a shareable folder. I can use that through Google Drive or Dropbox and make sure that everyone can get the link to that so that you can see what photos are in there, and perhaps even add photos to that based on anything that's missing. If you have a photo, just cut out the middleman if you're needing to send it to me. But I can certainly create that.
Thank you.
And I did just email, there were 3 emails that you did, Fred, and a list. So I just emailed that to everybody. And Greg, is this, so will you sort of be the person, whatever people are sending as far as images that it'll go to the whole committee, but you will be the sort of
Curator.
Okay,
Yes.
fine.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone should make sure that the entire committee is copied so that I don't end up getting duplicates. But yeah, if they are sent in a group email thread, I will be happy to pull them out, call them into a curated file.
And just by way of, I know that sometimes there are different email chains going, and I think it's better if the whole committee is communicating with everybody, because I don't want to do a reply to all and find out that I haven't included everybody. So I do take the time to look, but I think it would be better to just keep the flow going to everybody if possible.
Okay. We can do that in the future.
That would be excellent.
And I will, if you're not, I did not get it. I'm looking at my email now. So what you sent, I did not get yet. But I did get your draft. You just resent the draft?
I did.
Okay, that's the only thing I just got in the email just now.
I didn't even get it. Just got what Fred said. I didn't see no pictures here. There's no photo list.
No,
No, she didn't send the photos.
No, I didn't send photos. I
Okay.
sent, hang on,
And
listen, I'm going to tell you what I sent. Okay. The email that you received is a Word document called CP picture list.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there are 3 emails that I'm quite sure, Fred, that you sent. Fred.
Yeah, I was just
that's from
letting you know,
Fred.
what I did just receive from you, though, was not that.
Well, there should be 3 emails
I
in
know,
each
I'm
of,
just saying, I did not get it. Let me go look at spam.
because they're emails
There
and
you
you
go.
open.
There you go. You was spam.
I know. It's okay. Anyway, there are 3 emails with links to
Yeah.
tons of photographs. So,
Okay.
and that list, who did the list? Was that your list, Jonathan? CP
Well,
picture list?
I did send a photo list
Yeah.
of suggested photos, but I don't know what you're referring to right now.
Well,
All right.
I will
All right,
share.
Jonathan, she just sent my list of everything that I said we should take pictures of. All right.
I'm sharing.
And it's 3 pages.
So that's yours. It's helpful also if
Yeah,
when people send things, I mean, if it's an email, we know it's from you, but let us know who did this. But I believe, Jonathan, did you mention that you have a list? You just did a list of
Yeah, he did too.
photographs.
Right, and I just mentioned that I had sent out the list a few days ago, so now we have at least 2 lists.
Yep.
And did it go to everybody? I think it did.
Mine did,
Jonathan's
yes.
did, mine did not.
Okay. Well, now yours has.
And as Fred mentioned, his is probably more complete than mine was. Mine was just
I see. I have it.
a beginning of a list.
I'm going to save this to that. So that went to everybody, so I don't need to.
Correct. And like I said, there are a lot of, and I sent to Greg also, that there are a lot of standard pictures of a lot of these. All right, that I'm pretty sure we could use, that Greg said we could probably use in the comprehensive plan.
Awesome.
Because some of us are not that professional in taking pictures. I know I'm not.
Well, Fred, I wouldn't describe myself as professional at taking photos either. I would just say that I've got enough of a background in doing it that they're reasonably decent to look at.
Okay.
I won't be winning any New York Times awards. I will not be in the National Geographic.
Okay.
I came to accept that reality a while ago.
I'm just sharing Jonathan's list really quickly, and then I'll stop sharing. It's a great list. Nice work. Fred and John.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to stop
So-
sharing.
So we are now discussing what Jonathan sent us regarding his introduction and his vision.
Well, no, I didn't send any new document out, but Liz circulated a new document. So that's,
Yeah.
see, again, you're confusing the documents. So that's why it's important to really start naming them and referring and reviewing the same document.
So what document should we be discussing now? And Liz, you're off. Your volume's off.
Okay, I'm going to share screen again. But I don't know if it's showing you the right screen. You see the,
Yeah, I see it.
okay. Let me get rid of the side here. This, and the reason that the introduction is in here is that was a previous comment by the committee to sort of, it was a longer vision statement. And at least from what I understood, the concept was to take an introduction to state, hey, what do we have? Kind of set the stage, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then after that is sort of the stage is set to state the vision. So, this is a start. And I tried to say to you, but I'll be clear next time about the version, the date and time.
I
So I don't know.
I thought it was a very good introduction. I don't know what other members thought.
Is that somebody talking about this?
That was background.
Anybody have comments? Because I'm ready to write and eventually, based on what you all say, try another rewrite.
I thought it was very good.
We're just talking about the introduction at this point, correct?
Just the introduction.
Yeah.
And yes, I think it was very well done.
I mean, is there, are there points missing? I know I have a blank spot. Hang on, let me zoom out some more. I'm sorry.
Well, you're not carrying everything that we have in the town, but because it's just an introduction, it's just a warm up.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to carry
there's so
everything that we have in
many
the
things you
town,
could
it's going to
put.
go on for 10 pages.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good, brush of the important, the character of the town. You got the waterways, you got the historic stuff. I like it. I think it's very good.
Well, yeah, I do have a comment where it says in the third paragraph where you say our town is a desirable / a great place to live. I don't know if that's grammatically correct.
No, it's not.
Okay, but I'm saying, but as
What
far
would you
as
like? What would you like? That was language from two different drafts or comments that I was looking at.
I like just saying it's a great place to live. I think that's, short and to the point.
I agree. The only thing I don't see in the introduction, which was just kind of piquing my head, was our history. The history of Fishkill going back to the beginnings of this country. Maybe I'm missing it.
No, it's not there, but it goes back before our country was formed.
I was
So
just
I'm
referring to
gonna tell
that
you
it goes
that's-
back. And
Yeah,
that,
well, again,
to the founding.
yeah,
I realize it goes back well before that. I was just,
it goes back to the 16 or 15, 1600s.
and ultimately, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if I'm just not seeing it or whether we just don't want to put it in. And
No,
then
I
how to
think
put it
we
in.
should.
I mean, we're definitely have a strong historic background in this area. So.
Yeah, I think we should say something like it was settled in this year by who and how pivotal we were in the revolution and
As well as
but-
land acknowledgement of the native peoples whose land we are currently living on.
See, I go all the way back to Madame Brett and the original patents is when this place was really settled. And as you know, Madame Brett's house is in Beacon, but at that time there wasn't Beacon. It was, this was all part of the same thing.
Fishkill Landing.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even known as Fishkill Landing when she
Yeah.
settled it. So, all right. So, we've had a lot of history here all the way through. But I don't know if that should be in the introduction going back because
No, but a small blurb is really more, maybe a sentence or even half a sentence or a little blurb. I know we could get off on a tangent about like witch history and the native peoples and all that stuff, or just say a very historic, I don't know exactly how to say it. It's not my strong suit. Is
From pre-contact times or from primordial times to
I
present?
don't want to go back that far.
And I
Yeah.
think a little bit about the history of the town would be important for some people reading this who may not know much about it.
Right, right. I mean, some of the things obviously are in there, the Van Wyck homestead and things like that, but unless you know what that is, which.
Okay, can I suggest that you put it in the first paragraph?
Yeah, that's where I was thinking
Town of
too.
Fishkill
somewhere in
is
there.
an historical, helping form the country or New York State or whatever what do you want to do? Because we were very historical.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Helping discover and form the
And
area
you
in
said
which we
trails,
live.
we'd have in there numerous parks, trails, historical places. But again, we could say historical places dating back to before the founding of New York State.
So you saying like start the sentence with like the town of Fishkill preserves its historic and cultural heritage and then go from there? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know where you want to put it. I'm just,
No, but
It
I'm
could
saying is
either
that what
be
you're trying to say? Like that's
The town of Fishkill is an established, largely developed but evolving, lively community nestled at the foothills of the Hudson Valley that finds its roots
preserves.
going all the way back to,
you can say the
peoples
original
of this
Pat.
land and those who have come after, that's where I'm kind of seeing maybe, you want to put the history because it's right there in the developed, established, developed. That's where our kind of history is, and why it's still here and vibrant. Unless you want to put it related to the Hudson River, which is also why it goes back so far. But I would think somewhere in there and
So maybe where it's fabrics because the rest of it is just a bunch of commas. So if where you saying like its fabric is woven with many friendly blah blah blah. So the town preserves its historical and cultural heritage by example of, and then you could list those places, but it can't be a sentence because there's nothing but a bunch of commas in the beginning. I like the flow of what you're saying, but I don't think it fits next to the commas. Is what I'm
Maybe the first sentence could be, I think, from where Kevin was going, the town of Fishkill established, blah, 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 nestled at the foot of the, and then you said something, but I don't write that fast. And then that would be the first sentence.
larger nest in the foothills of the Hudson Highlands. And I can't remember either. That's why they say these things when they come to my head.
Just
the Hudson Highlands.
Right.
Yep.
That's what live with the Hudson Highlands.
But we will have the tape, so you can go back.
Reroll the tape.
See, he agrees.
Yeah.
Okay, we can work through that. Yeah, that's good though. In other words, that would be sort of an opening sentence.
Listen, I have another thought to throw in here. There may be several categories of things that we want to describe about the town that don't necessarily have to be here. One thing I noticed when rereading over and over again the earlier comprehensive plan is that it really doesn't tell you a whole lot about the town. And this might be our opportunity to do a little bit more of that because, first of all, it's been 2009. It's been quite a few years since that plan was done, and this is kind of an opportunity to let people know what the town is about. So I don't see anything wrong with putting some narrative together in the plan update that might not be linked to the vision statement like this, but it might be in kind of a introductory section with several different segments about the town's history, the town's economy, where it was and where where it is now, the town's topography and natural resources. There's a lot more that could be said besides what's in here, but there's no reason it has to be right here to interrupt the flow of what we're trying to do with the vision statement. So you see what I'm saying? There might be a way to sort of do a little brief inventory of a number of sections, and hopefully not too many, trying to list them, history, natural resources, parks and
Jonathan?
recreation and trails.
Yeah, Jonathan? What you're sort of saying is, you will have an introduction like it has here. We have a vision statement we have there, and then we can have a whole section called a history of Fishkill.
Not history, but just I think he's
Well-
saying a little bit of everything. So you could put history in there. You could put the entertainment aspects. You can put the businesses in there. You could put the entertainment in there. You could put
Well, I thought
just
you
little
wanted-
blurbs. So maybe like to keep it small, like a paragraph relating to each.
Right. That's what
That
I
would
think.
be something like existing conditions, but we'll come up with a swankier name. So
Yeah,
kind of what's here.
right.
So it'd be intro, brief intro, brief, sorry about the background noise, vision. And then we'll have a section with multiple parts about, what do we have here? Kind of, we'll figure out a name for it.
Well,
And I would suggest that,
We'll call it the state of the town. Like the State of the Union, the state of the town.
Right. I got it.
interesting. And maybe what we'll need to do is have, I don't know, it might be interesting to have the state of the town kind of follow the topics, maybe that are in the outline. But maybe I'll come up with something a little bit more, less oriented toward visions, goals, and objectives. So perhaps I can come up with an outline. So like natural resources. I'm trying for another topic as I scan through here. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm scanning through. This is the outline. Maybe natural resources, people and places.
well, we have natural resources, we have historical resources, and we have modern things that we're using today.
Sorry, just real quick, the idea of the state of the town, there's already a state of the town speech every year. So maybe changing the wording on that. But I like the idea of the concept of putting that in here somewhere.
I just meant it as a joke. I didn't really think of it. Sorry.
No, it's fine. We've been suggesting language and things to put in there, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. I'm scrolling through the outline, which is an outline that's based on goals and objectives, but the first three categories I came up with are natural resources, people and places, economic and social diversity. I'm just trying, I know there's history in here. There's no doubt that it's in here. Scenic and historic stewardship.
Yeah, there we go.
So we could kind of get people sort of primed to be ready to think, oh, look at all this gorgeous stuff that we have. So what are we going to do with it? Gateways. I'm just going to keep scrolling. Can you guys see what I'm doing or not? I don't
Yeah,
know.
right now it says page 13 to 20.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So great places for people. See, I'm dropping off goal, create. We're just great places for people. It's just going to talk about what we have. Good design of the built environment. I don't know. Maybe we just talk about the built environment.
Well, Liz, each one of these is something that we have to cover. Do we, instead of having a page right after, do you want to do maybe a summary of the current state of each one of these things as they are right now, and then what we want to see in the future? Or do we want to do it the other way around, where we put it all in one section and then have each individual section then done what we want?
I mean, it's really up to the committee, but I kind of like this idea that you've just hatched that isn't part of the old 2009 plan, where you're walking in, you're giving them just a quick intro taste. You're giving them the vision statement, and then you're going through and saying, this is what's here, and touching on these areas. And then the next thing would be, okay, this is what we got. Now, what are we going to do with it more specifically? And
hold on a second. We just get outside because I just had a Zoom meeting.
And so the list I have so far is for us to just say, hey, look what we got here. Natural resources, people and places, economic and social diversity, scenic and historic we could just say scenic and historic resources, or whatever we want to call it. We don't have to imply the stewardship, because that's almost like a goal. Gateways, great places for people, built environment, and community.
We have one of the greatest sites in the world. You just have to climb the mountain to get to it.
And maybe schools. There's one, coordinate with school districts, but I don't know how we turn that into. But schools are important.
Oh, yes.
I guess community would be schools.
Yeah, Liz, and we have added
community is more than just schools.
College.
I know.
Right?
Okay.
So we've added Dutch Community College to Fishkill.
So do we want to say schools and education?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be higher education, right? Higher education.
Yeah. I mean,
But
if
in the college,
if we
just
are
saying
becoming,
education in general.
yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah. Because that could be anything. That could be actual school, actual college, or opportunities for learning that aren't related to school or college. Neighboring municipalities, I don't know, I mean, that's worth, touching on. It could be a brief section.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do stuff, with the village,
Yeah, between Fishkill, the village of, and then of course you got Beacon. We are very tight with some of the local Wappingers.
Yeah. You could also even link it to the broader region, the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
It's a lot of why we're here and what affects us.
Right. And being right on the Hudson there and in the Hudson Valley is,
Hey guys, on the list that I sent out regarding pictures, and I have historical sites, here's the ones I have. Madame Brett, which happens to be in Beacon, but that was the original patent. All right. I had the Van Wyck House. I have Mount Goulian, which is in Fishkill. I have Stony Kill Farm, which is in there. I have the Brinkelhoff Home. I have Bannerman Island, and then I have others. But those are ones that I have that hit different periods of time and are historical. Bannerman Island, is a storage of gunpowder, but just to give you an idea, and that list has been sent to you to give you an idea. All right.
Good.
I mean, we do have other things, but again, those are ones I said I wanted to take a picture of. I didn't see I wanted to take a picture of this George Washington, where George Washington's stone was made, sword was made, because that's.
Could we get a picture of that? I know people have remade that sword.
Well,
they actually have the original, I believe. Greg, I think, was talking about it one of the days I know we ran into it.
I mean, those are things we could highlight.
Yeah.
in this. So,
It's not on
so
the list.
just a quick recap. So we're talking about a brief intro, a very brief vision statement, and then kind of a rundown of what we have for
What
maybe
we
a few
have,
pages.
resources, and yeah.
A paragraph or list or whatever.
I think probably a paragraph kind of relating to each one of these that you kind of have here, neighboring municipalities, environmental, historic,
Yep.
yeah, probably just a quick brief.
Liz, when you guys were talking about putting pictures in, were you going to put pictures in with a description of what that was, or just pictures?
I mean, I think.
I didn't know what that purpose was.
Well,
Purpose is illustration. Yeah, I would probably think the best thing to do would be to focus on the photograph in an appropriate place so it's not out of context. And doing it this way would be a great way to do it. But then maybe also have a little caption under each photograph that just very briefly says what or where it is. If it's a historic structure, it's just the Bannerman Island or whatever it is. If it's a location, then you can just put what the location is showing. Or if it's one of the Hudson Highlands Mountains, label it like that. Just whatever it is, a quick caption on it.
Dr. See him sooner, and maybe the psychiatrist see him sooner.
Somebody talking?
No, I think it's someone's
Yeah,
TV.
they should mute their stuff. Mute them.
Well, like I said, I got 8 parks, 3, 6, 7. I got 8 parks that are in, I believe, that are in the town, surrounding town of Fishkill. And I'm not including the Beacon. And I even have Camp ABC. You know what Camp ABC is? The Fresh Air Fund.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the official name, ABC.
Come here, girl.
We are very fortunate here.
Yeah.
We really are.
So, maybe each of these sections would be a little paragraph.
Yeah.
Maybe with a little bit of listing so that we're not trying to make a list
Yeah.
into something other than it is. And
Yeah, I don't think we want to go too deep, but
Right.
Yep. We want to make it accessible and for people to actually look at it. And if we get too far into the weeds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So we all agree on the initial intro, right? That first page, is that one like something that we could go with? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Except that, I'll have to look at the video or Kevin's going to have to call me up and just riff. You could just riff, just keep trying to say it. It's going to come out.
Yeah. No.
If you,
Yeah, because as soon as you ask, it blocks away in my skull and it doesn't.
exactly. And when the Zoom meeting's over with and you go to put your head on the pillow, please
Yeah.
make sure there's pen and paper nearby.
Yeah. That's when it'll come out. You're right.
That's right. And we can rework this again and again. We already have, which is great. Great work. Anything else? Anybody
So
have
we're-
other minds for this part?
We're holding off on the vision statement. I know people have gone back and forth with revisions, but I was really hoping to, before we go too far into the vision statement, besides what Jonathan has really wrote, which was very nice, finding out what the questionnaires that we put out, when we get all that information out or back to us, so that we know what everybody else is thinking to create our vision. That's the way I see how this is supposed to go. I mean, I could be very off on that, but before we fight amongst ourselves, we have, I think, a really nice draft from Jonathan until we find out what the rest of the people in this area really feel. I don't know, I'd be reluctant, I think one thing, maybe Fred Cantor thinks another, and Jonathan thinks another, and Kenya thinks another, but, we put the question out there, I believe, for this reason.
Yeah, Kevin, you're right. We
So,
really have to wait for that questionnaire before we can.
Right.
I mean,
And
we
this
can
is-
we can look at the vision statement, which I think a lot of us like what Jonathan originally wrote. All right, and it's a good basis for where we can go.
Yeah,
But let's get what we need,
right.
and I don't know how easy that's going to be. Of all the comments that were made.
I think we'll get a good snapshot. We spent a lot of time on the questionnaire. I think hopefully as long as everybody filled it out, I think it'll have a lot of good information, and we can really get a good idea of what other people think who maybe don't have time to join committees, and
Yeah.
So with that said, Liz, where we go from here, like for tonight, what else are we working on?
Okay, so I just want to say I'm really glad you brought that up, because you brought us all back to the fact that that survey and what we get from it is going to shape a lot of this. So what I had in mind for tonight, can I find my outline that I gave you? Hang on. See, I don't remember what I told you folks I was going to make you talk about. Hang on. The vision statement was first. Okay. Let me actually get the one that I sent to you. And I'm going to unshare and reshare because I'm old enough to not really understand how to switch from one screen to the other.
Is the comprehensive plan that was in 09, is that about the size of what we're trying to aim
It's not
for?
going to let me do this. Nope, I went too
I've
far.
never done a comprehensive plan before, and I don't know how many other people have done one.
I've done a few, and I bet you Jonathan.
I know you have, but I don't.
I bet you Jonathan's been
I think
involved.
Jonathan, you worked on the one in Ithaca.
Yes, and other places.
Okay,
Fred, the length of it
There we go.
usually is a result of whatever the process is, and there's no right or wrong amount of pages for a comprehensive plan to have. I'd rather see a 10-page comprehensive plan that said a lot than a 200-page plan that doesn't say very much at all.
Well, I agree with you.
The chances are it's probably going to be somewhere in between that range.
Okay.
But I
All
don't
right,
think
so
I don't think we want to create a lot of words that aren't necessary. So,
And honestly, some of the comprehensive plans I've worked on, there's been a heavy emphasis on existing conditions where there's an exhaustive documentation of all your resources in detail, which you have some of that in your existing comprehensive plan. Much of it is in the format of maps. I don't believe our scope included a lot of maps, but we're going to obviously include more current ones. And just keep in mind that comprehensive plan from 2009 is going to be an appendix on which it's kind of what we spring from here. So I don't necessarily recommend an exhaustive existing condition statement because it really just puts people to sleep. I think that the direction you've just given this thing, going from an intro, a vision, what do we have? And then the next kind of long section is, well, what have we done with it and what are we doing with it? So the way that I had structured the outline, I'm going to skip right to the outline again. Let me stop because we were going to look at an implementation page, but I think we should stop that stop.
Well,
I think we should blow that off because that comes later. And gonna go back to the outline to kind of keep you focused on that if I can find it. Here we go. This outline that I started to create, I know it's not a real fun thing to look at. What I've tried to do is take the text of your comprehensive plan from 2009 and boil it down into objectives. So this one I'm showing you right here is the first goal of the 2009 plan. And the goal is a broader statement. And then there's these objectives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what I've done is taken those objectives and tried to say something about what has been accomplished, or what we should put there. I'm gonna, let's see. So the first objective is protect and preserve large open space parcels in public and semi-public ownership for Fishkill residents and future generations. And I'm giving you a reference to what they talk about in the existing comprehensive plan. We may get some stuff from folks in the survey about what they'd like to see. So that's a possibility.
okay, but Liz, like if we've sort of accomplished that already,
That's what we should also state.
okay, because I will, as I tell before, that whole Mount Beacon is us, and it's not going to be developed other than for trails.
All right. And I'm glad you said that because one of the things I wanted
you
to
also
do here
have-
is say, we
you
already
al-
did this. What can we focus on next?
And we
Keep
also
going.
have the Stony Kill Farm,
Mhm.
which can only be used as a farm. And that goes back to the deed that which the town or the state got.
Mhm.
We do have large parcels of land. And the only
Yep.
parcel of land that I know that is still available in the future is potentially the prisons.
Mhm. So I think,
they have,
those,
and they have a lot of acreage.
Mhm. So there could be an accounting of existing open space.
How about acquiring somewhat open space? I think it was Fred, you had talked about the railroad tracks and turning that maybe into a walking trail. Would that be where this would fall into that section, or would that be somewhere else?
Well, I don't call that large open space.
It's considered
I
open
know.
space.
But I would like to put in there that we'd like to acquire the railroad.
Right. It's not large open space, but it is open space.
You got it.
So that's, and it would be used more as a walking trail or something like that. So that's why I'm asking if it would fit. It says critical lands. And I was wondering if that's where this maybe would fit.
Maybe.
As for
This
the
is something
prisons,
that I wanted to do.
where would they fall? Like, do we want to
Well, it's state-owned
think
property.
about what
State, right. I was going to say state.
us as a town envision that to be? I mean, it's up to the state ultimately, but we can definitely have maybe what we want to see there.
Okay, so maybe in this section A, maybe that's an area where you can talk about future use, but I'm not sure that it fits there, but the idea
I don't
is
think
good.
prisons fit there. No, because I would see the prisons opening up more as something to develop, whether it's housing or businesses or mix or whatever.
Yep.
This, I think, is more like the walking path, preserving open spaces or acquiring new open spaces. Is that, I could be wrong if that's where this would fall.
All right, but Kevin, I'm also going to tell you around the physical prison is land.
I understand, but
it's really what you got.
If we want the state to turn it into a park, I would agree with you. But I would think that has developed potential, where you could still use part of it as a park. I'm not counting that, but you would consider it as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that's also the kind of, and again, jump in, anybody, if I'm stating this wrong, anything that's like a college, an existing summer camp, a prison, anything that is a large hunk of land, it's got some buildings on it, but significant open space. I call it sort of a campus style land use. And I don't know, Jonathan, if that's the right word to use. But it's a designed environment for a certain purpose. And if it's going to be repurposed, I don't know that you want to just have it for open space. I think you'd want to use existing buildings and structures if possible. So I think that's, in my opinion, again, jump in, anybody, sort of a redevelopment concept.
Can
Right.
you do
And so
some
I
of
think-
us old people a favor, Liz? Can you
Yeah.
make that larger?
Yeah, I was
I
trying.
mean, I am sorry, but
Speaking of
I
being
can see the
old,
black and I can see the
hang
red.
on, I'm gonna go back to,
And that's with glasses.
I'm going back to single page.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. This is where I'm not really very skilled, and I wish I had a 20-something nearby. Please don't anybody be
Thank you.
offended.
I got rid of the magnifying glass.
Okay. Oh, no.
That's good.
Trying to get it to stop. Yeah, I don't want it to zoom anymore. Okay, there we go. So let me just touch on these objectives in this conserve critical lands. Don't get hung up on the text. 1, protect and preserve large open space, semi-public ownership, public and semi-public ownership. 2, promote use of conservation easements and other mechanisms to acquire and preserve. 3, enact critical environmental area designations. Different thing. You're protecting something. It's not necessarily public access. 4, use state-of-the-art conservation planning techniques to protect important environmental resources. I'm going to go to the next page and keep moving, which in there I've cited things that have already been implemented in your code. So I feel like that one is kind of done. Let me just go back so you can see that. Utilize state-of-the-art conservation planning techniques to protect important resources and create a network of open green space. And what I'm saying in the description that I started inputting months ago lets you know that there's a lot of things that the town of Fishkill has done over the years in their code to try to keep green in lots of different places. So that, I feel like that one's kind of done. Ensure infrastructure does not encourage sprawl. I'm citing the conservation cluster provisions, but I'm also, these are some of your comments from prior meetings that I inserted here to get an idea of how we'll be building this. If you want to just take a moment to read it. That sounds like a dog. Okay, and let's see.
So I just had like a question. When it's saying protect and preserve, right? It's land that the town owns already, right? Is that the point of that?
Is that,
I
hang
don't
on,
think so.
I don't think so.
hang on, I'm going back. No, this
Okay.
one
Yeah.
Yeah,
is.
yeah, because like where I live at, there's a lot of open space and they're trying to build on all of this space. But it's my understanding that this space is already owned by someone else. So if the town hasn't acquired it, then pretty much the code, I guess, stops them from completely building over it, like to a certain extent, the variances and stuff like that.
Well, I'm going to answer your question 2 different ways. So, the town has parks. You also have, I think, a scenic Hudson Park or 2. There's state land. Then in addition to that, the town has code sections that try to preserve natural resources and green areas. Then you also have parts of the code that require when somebody does new land development to include some green and not just a bunch of lawn area, but, real landscaping. Jonathan's very familiar with dealing with that in planning board reviews. So there are many mechanisms to do this. And so I think a lot of, say, objective one has been significantly, done or started. I don't know if there's any other big chunk that the town is interested in or that some historic or conservation group hasn't already preserved. So there are a lot of historic sites like Stony Kill Farm. That's another big chunk of a kind of a green space with some natural resources. Some of it's, a farm landscape, but some of it's open and wild. So you have a lot of mechanisms already in place for lots of green.
Liz, let me just fill you. I know Kevin has a question. Kevin, you want to have a question?
I was just going to say, because we talked about the rail line, and that would fall under park. So that's why I was asking whether it should fall here and whether it should be included.
I think it should be later, actually.
Yeah,
okay.
But Kevin,
Yes.
I believe when that comes about, it's going to be a county park.
That's
land.
fine, because some of this includes
Versus-
state land, county land, town land. It would still fall under here. This is something we want to see. Whoever does it, we really don't care.
True.
I mean, it could even be an agreement between private entities and public, and yeah, I know there. I used to use the bike path a lot more, and it's almost like a nature walk kind of thing. So I always think of it as open land because it was very calming and pleasant. So so when it says public open spaces, that's generally what I consider those kind of things. So
another category where the trail thing could go would be under goal C, connect people and places, because it does talk about things like building, encouraging walking and biking and building
There you
trails.
Could it be done just in both?
So, well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's going to be overlap among these categories.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't get hung up right now on which category it's going to go in, but rather what we want to say about it.
Okay.
And
when you guys look at my the pictures I have a whole bunch of trails in there, so that I already know existing. Guys, just a quick thing about the farms. All right, that farm was deeded to the state with a caveat: if it was ever not used as staying as a farm, it converts back to the original owners. So I just want to let you know that. I've tried to use that for parklands and other things, ball fields or something like that. Can't be done. Has to remain as a farm.
you're talking about Stony Kill?
Yes.
Okay.
Has to remain as a farm.
And also the thing about
Anything else?
the thing about Stony Kill also is that, as you know, state DEC controls it, but DEC decided a number of years ago that they didn't have the resources to really keep it up properly. And so the Stony Kill Foundation was established to run Stony Kill, basically. But that's not saying that someday the state may not decide for some reason to get rid of it from the state inventory.
You got it.
And so one thing we may want to talk about with something like Stony Kill is, what if that happens? What we have to be ready, prepared to do something if the state decides to abandon the property.
Are there
So
any
Jonathan,
groups-
could the town at that point step in and run it like a farm at that point?
Well, it takes a lot of resources to do it. And that's why Stony Kill Foundation is a not-for-profit entity, which, raises money to try to raise funds to maintain it and to put on the educational programs that they do and all of that.
maybe collaborate with them and support them and
Maybe
I don't know.
collaborate.
Collaborate.
Maybe it's collaborating with the county as well. I mean, the county does tend to get involved in some of these bigger properties if necessary. So I'm not saying the state will abandon it, but we need to be prepared with alternative approaches if that ever does happen.
And I don't know if that's a scenic, if it meets scenic Hudson's criteria or if there's another land trust.
It's a very, very large, flat, usable property for development.
Unfortunately.
Very easy to develop that land. Good soil, good everything.
So that sounds like a very good thing to then put in here. How would it be worded in a way, because we don't, if that comes to pass, we don't want the town, paying for that. But there are other ways. I mean, there are other farmers, there's other groups, the 4-H, cooperative extensions, so many other ways to do it, to try and preserve it so that the taxpayers aren't on the hook for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevin, we might want not to preserve the whole area, which is where we kick in with Jonathan, because you have certain areas which you could preserve. It also runs along Baxtertown Road, Stony Kill Road. I mean, it's a big hunk of land.
Right, but doesn't it all fall under that agreement then? That's my question, because it sounds like that maybe there's
No, right now it
that are and
does.
certain aren't.
Yeah, no, right now it does. But if the state says we no longer want it and they put it on the market, we can control it by zoning of what can or cannot be used and how much of it. I mean, I don't know if, unless Scenic Hudson or the town comes in and buys it, if the state sell it for $1, the town would buy it, I think.
50 cents.
So can I jump in?
It sounds like, stop me for a second if I'm wrong on this, Fred. What you were saying is the state can do that as long as it's not run like a farm. Somebody else can come in and run it like a farm if that's allowable in that agreement.
I think I'm not sure, Kevin.
And it doesn't sound like it belongs
sold to the state to only be used as a farm.
Right. So it doesn't look like the state even has that possibility to sell it to anybody unless they're going to use it like a farm.
Correct.
Hi,
Then
guys.
it's going to
I
go
think
back to
that
the original.
issue would be down the line, right? Like, it's not going to help us now whether they're going to sell it.
Well, no, because what he's talking about is putting something in this section that says we keep an eye on it, that one of our goals is to make sure that continues to be a public farm for public open space. That's why we're discussing it in this juncture, I believe.
It's an example.
Well,
I think Jonathan was.
Can I
but I
jump
don't
in
know
here
why-
now?
Wouldn't that
So
be?
if you look back at the 2009 comprehensive plan, there actually is a map called Map 2, and it's titled Proposed Recreation Zoning District. And among other places, it identified Stony Kill Farm as going into this proposed recreation zoning district. It really is in the way of, I guess the town at that point was thinking of it as like an open space conservation type of zoning district. But that was never implemented. So that's something we need to go back to the 2009 plan and understand what that plan talked about doing, which never got done. And do we want to continue with that recommendation or do something else? But we have to be aware that that's what was in the 2009 plan. So take a look at map number 2. The unfortunate thing with that 2009 plan is there was not a whole lot of description and discussion of what that would mean and how to do it. Which is again why I think our implementation section later in the update is going to need to get a lot more specific about those things. But anyway, if you haven't looked at it, take a look at map number 2, which is in the appendix of the 2009 plan. And the other properties that are in that proposed recreation zoning district are mostly other state forest lands and state parklands.
Jonathan, did they have the Texaco property, their park in that?
No, that's
Because back then,
that's a different
okay.
thing. Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about the main plan. I'm talking about their actual park that they had there.
Nope.
Okay.
But that is an entirely different conversation that we'll need to have.
And if I could just jump in here, just purely on mechanism, because you guys know your town better than I do. So I invite you to print out one-sided your 2009 plan and print out one-sided the latest outline that you have, which I think I sent you in December. And I think I resent it. Did I resend it to you in this email? Print it out one-sided, get yourself a red pen or whatever your favorite writing implement is that will just show up, and start reading and just start scribbling. Start making some notes. What are your reactions to it? Because the whole point here is a lot of work was done in the 2009 plan, and I think you can build on that. I think you can see some things are done and maybe pinpoint what's the most urgent thing, working together with what the public has said. So that's my plug to take the plan, take the outline, print it out, start just randomly looking through it and scribbling. And I'm not going to say anything else. Keep going, you guys. You're doing good.
Okay. That's our next assignment.
So I have a question. Jonathan, how difficult is it to change a zone to something like that? I mean, I imagine this is kind of what we're doing here is kind of about.
Well, first of all, if the zoning change is described and contemplated in the comprehensive plan, then it simply becomes a legislative matter for the town board to do a zoning amendment, which can either be amendments to the text of the zoning ordinance and or map changes. And there's a process that the town board has to go through. It involves a public hearing. It involves a state environmental quality review and determination of that action. But I mean, the town board is definitely the only authority that can do that that action. But if this comprehensive plan update committee wants to raise the question of why didn't that recreation zoning district ever get implemented, and that goes way back to several town boards ago, and raise that issue with the public again, because it's been years since anybody really talked about it. It's not all that difficult for the town board to do if the town board wants to do it. But that's the key question. Would the town board want to do something like that? There may have been reasons why the previous town boards did not want to do that, or maybe it was one of those things where the comprehensive plan had all kinds of recommendations and just never happened. I don't really know why it didn't happen.
And also in a big area like that, one way to handle it is to add a use that could be done, and make it, say, if it's something that's preferred, and Jonathan, jump in again if you want, make it a principal use, so that kind of use is encouraged, and maybe other uses that are a little more concerning in terms of cutting up the landscape maybe are special uses or aren't allowed. So those are just some thoughts there. Instead of redoing a whole zone.
Jonathan, is it zoned ag district? I never looked.
No, it actually isn't.
What's it zoned?
Interestingly enough, because it's probably not considered a productive farm or agricultural property.
I think it's zoned homestead.
It's probably zoned in one of the lower density residential zones.
Yeah,
right
it's a residential zoning, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
On the Stony Kill website, they say that they're in Wappinger.
No,
No?
no. They
It's
might have a small.
partly in Wappinger.
Wappinger off 9D.
Be Wappinger mailing.
Off of Stony Hill Road.
Yeah, no, I know where it is.
Yeah,
Just
but
on
it's
their
not-
website, it says
That's
Wappinger Falls.
the farm itself and most of the land. All right. It's off Baxtertown Road and 9D. That's all Fishkill.
Okay.
That probably has a Wappingers Falls mailing address.
It could do that. Oh, it definitely could have that. We have a lot of homes over there that whole area has
Yeah.
Wappinger Falls mailing address.
Right.
That whole development that's across from the stadium, that's a Wappingers mailing address.
I live there,
Yeah, what's your address? Wappingers.
Wappingers Falls.
And what school system?
Beacon.
You know?
Welcome to New York.
And who do we pay taxes to?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. Again, welcome to New York.
Hey, here's one for you guys. You know, we have a Glenham post office. You all know that?
Yes.
But if you want delivery at your home, you have to have a Beacon mailing address. The only thing that Glenham is good for is a PO box.
Okay, so let me just say this. So that's a perfect example of what needs to be in here and something for us to do. Can anybody else, especially if you guys have the old comprehensive plan in front of you, maybe it's in there. What else do we have to think about with this? So I already assumed that this was something that was already protected. So can anybody else think of something else that falls under this umbrella that might have to be covered in this, or that is an open space that we want to think about going forward?
Kevin, all the prisons. They're all
How
state-owned
about Castle
property.
Point?
It's all state-owned property.
Well, but that's a different category.
That's a different category. We're talking open space. So unless we want to talk about tearing down the prison and leaving it as one big park, I don't think it falls in this section. I'm trying to think of just what is an open space that we want to preserve or needs to be preserved that's already exists.
Okay, I will tell you the other one.
Yes.
Big, the Fresh Air Fund.
Okay.
That's almost, it's in East Fishkill and maybe Phillipstown, because they have a big hunk of land. Has beautiful lake, has beautiful, things.
Yeah.
And if they
had
ever
an
go
event
out of
up there a couple
business,
weeks back, so.
okay, and if they ever go out of business, that's another big hunk of land that we have. All right. And Mount Beacon has already been taken over, most of it, by the Fresh Air, not by the Fresh Air, by, help me guys.
Scenic Hudson.
So do we have to consider changing the zonings in those sections to make sure that they continue to be protected? So this is a perfect example I'm asking.
Yeah. Do
we have to consider changing them just like we're considering changing that? Or do we really just want to leave it?
So look at map 2 again, because the Fresh Air Fund property is also shown in that proposed recreation zoning district. There you go. Thank you, Liz.
It's that brown area. It's that whole brown area, guys.
So it breaks it up into municipal and state properties are in the green, and private owner properties are in the brown. So that area is basically the Fresh Air Fund site, the campsite.
And it would make a beautiful second home development.
Yes, it would.
Well, if I could just jump in here.
Yes.
So many communities have a camp like that. And actually, 2011, when I was working with the planning board, I remember that came up. And I think it came up again recently.
Yeah, but that was
Jonathan. But let me just say something about camps and campus style places. I really feel strongly that anything a town, including planning board and town board, can do to keep places like that as they are, it behooves them to do. So one way of handling that is if they come in for a change, have them talk about changes they might want in the future and try to work with them to do sort of a generic seeker review towards maybe like a master plan type reapproval. And then when they come into smaller projects, they can do it with some ease. So that's one approach to, a Christian facility or camp facility or a college campus or something that is kind of an open space use, but a use that's active and can be part of the community. Because I understand the concern about having that become a lot of homes, but it's fairly marginal land. And as long as it's a thriving organization, a lot of the former maybe Boy Scout, Girl Scout camps have been sold to religious groups that need to get their folks out of the city and up into the country. So there are other uses for those types of lands. And so it's just a suggestion that while it's a worry, to allow that use to continue, like don't take it out of the zoning, keep it in there so they can continue what they do and be part of the community. So,
Hey, Kevin, the other one, and Jonathan, the other one is Castle Point.
Isn't that Wappingers?
Yeah, no, it's Fishkill and Wappingers. It's Fishkill and Wappingers, guys.
Right up there.
It's really, a lot of it's in Fishkill.
I think that's that brown area right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
right
not,
down there.
do we, Castle Point is the VA hospital.
Correct. And you've heard that they want to close that.
Correct. But do we want to conserve that for open space, or do we want to think about
It wouldn't be no good.
what we would like vision wise for that to be if the feds are going to change that into something else or sell it off?
Kevin, I would quite honestly, with the infrastructure that they have in there, it would be much better going into something else than open space.
I agree, but we're right now working on open space, and that's
Yeah.
why I was.
Well, I was just saying big parcels of land that,
right.
and if you asked me a year ago, I didn't think they would have closed it.
No, me either. But I scoffed at the jail closing too. So, and then they went and did it. So, you never know. Liz, you were referring to handling the Fresh Air Fund land differently. I was just talking about zoning as an option because I know that's what we just talked about with the other. Are you referring to having the town make an agreement with how they use the land? I'm I guess a little fuzzy on what your recommendation was.
Well,
besides just leaving it, if that's
right.
just what you were talking.
Ordinarily, if a town has that kind of use, if they're going to start looking at the zoning that includes that facility, they're going to try to keep that use in there so that use can continue. It would be destructive to not allow that use because then they're an existing non-conforming. They have all kinds of problems associated with that. A town can look at its zoning and say, well, if it wasn't a camp, what other thing could it be that would involve maybe just a few little buildings, an emphasis on the natural environment, and a lot of open space, so to encourage those kinds of uses. And again, Jonathan, jump in here because you know more about what's going on with the town planning than I do, really. For example, a resort or something like an Omega or
As long as they pay taxes, I don't care.
Well, that's
you
an
can't always
important
guarantee
point.
that.
That's an important point.
Unfortunately,
Because,
it ain't looking that way though.
Well,
Well,
That's a bigger
yeah.
and bigger issue.
do they pay now? I mean, it's
No.
Oh.
It's a
that's
If you're a religious organization, you're tax exempt. That's
Well,
my understanding.
right. Are they a religious?
They are not a religious
I
organization.
didn't think so.
It was originally owned by the Herald Tribune, Fresh Air Fund. It's been sold. The corporation has been sold. As I said, it's now the ABC Corporation.
Mhm.
All right, that owns it. And it's a tax exempt organization because it's charitable. It's not related to a religion. It's related to poverty.
So, Liz, what kind of zone or ordinance or whatever would keep it continuing in that same genre that it is now. Like you said, Omega, I don't really care, if, something happened and, they did want to get out of what they were doing in the Fresh Air Fund. And if they wanted to sell that or transfer it to something else that wanted to continue along those same lines, I'm absolutely fine with that. I was more concerned with, I think, what Fred was saying, which was, it gets developed to high heaven, and
Right.
And I would hate to see that. It's anytime you see those high up mountains, and then all of a sudden, there's just a massive amount of horrible looking houses on it. Just breaks my heart, because I've seen it in my town in Carmel where I grew up. The same thing happened, and it's possible because they already have a lot of the facilities already there. Their own water supply and all those things. I was up there, so I could see it's very impressive. So what do we do to help promote their continued use and anyone else's continued use?
Without, yeah.
Well, Kevin, it's zone 4-acre zoning right now.
Yep. I guess
4-acre zone.
the reason I mentioned that is because the idea of the town taking it over.
I wasn't suggesting that. No.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or a group that does preservation.
Yes.
You have a lot of groups like that in this area. You're very lucky. You do have a lot of preserved land. It just seems like an educational facility or something for people with special needs. Or
do we have a zone like that?
Well,
I don't know that you need necessarily to have a zone, because then you're talking about possibly saying, for this hunk of land, we only want it to have a few uses. You do want to allow it to have a spectrum of uses, because then you also have a chance of somebody coming there and putting something on there that does pay taxes. Do you know what I'm saying? And now the whole thing about having a bunch of homes way up high, there's another way to handle that, and that would be something akin to a view shed type law. In other words, if you're building with a certain amount of visibility or above a certain, height, or within the backdrop of scenic features that have been identified in your comprehensive plan, specifically identified, that you adopt some kind of standards that would apply to that. So it's not that they can't say build a house anywhere up there, but maybe the way that they have to build a house is to tuck it in, have very low level lighting. I think LaGrange has something, but it happens to apply to all kinds of low areas. So I don't.
LaGrange doesn't have any mountains.
No, but I think you do have mountains. I know that up in the town of Woodstock, they have some very strong rules about lighting and reflective windows and other aspects of design of homes up in the mountains, because they do have some homes up in the mountains. It's kind of unavoidable. People have to build these ungodly driveways to get to them, but they do have to come in to the planning board to talk about the design of their house and their windows and their lighting.
Well, they have to now.
Oh, do they have to do that now in Fishkill? For single family homes?
Well,
they're going to subdivide.
So this property is owned, what did you say it was? R4A, which is 4-acre minimum lot size.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty low density to begin with.
Oh, here's the zone.
But if somebody wanted to subdivide part of that property into residential development, the town did implement stronger conservation and subdivision requirements.
Okay.
And that was actually recommended in the comprehensive plan, the 2009 plan. It's not mandatory, but the planning board can, under certain conditions, require a developer to build under the conservation subdivision regulations, which basically takes the existing density that you could build, one house per 4 acres, and in effect locate those houses on a smaller area and preserve the rest of the area as open space. But to do that, you basically need at least a minimum type of sewer and public water to accommodate that, or else some kind of community septic systems, community well supply, something that would allow those houses to be concentrated on smaller amounts of land.
Well,
So
John,
we do have that now.
I was going to say they have quite a bit infrastructure already up there that they've developed themselves. I mean, there's a lot of need for fresh water and sewer facilities. You know, there's actually quite a few decent sized buildings. So, and that mainly probably where I'm coming from with that. I'm like, not for nothing. If that was to be sold, I'd be like, I'd develop that. Come on, it's already set up. There's water lines already going through. There's sewer lines already going through. There's lakes on there. I mean, that's some buku bucks. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay, then getting back. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm sorry to interrupt. So then, Liz, maybe in this section that we are talking about, we want to put in that we want to try and preserve some of our scenic mountain views or something like that, right? Without changing everything. Ultimately it's going to be up to whatever town board is in and whoever is in the zoning board at the time, if, and hope for the best that they listen to the comprehensive plan.
So what I'm gonna assign you to do, and anybody on the committee. So when you are looking up at these scenic views, we should put some kind of a list right in the text of the plan. The more specific you can be in a plan, it allows you to do many things, including, enact legislation if you want, or if you enact legislation, you've already named these things, or to get funding for things. So like when you're looking up at this camp, what are you calling it? And what we do is, that's what I want you to scribble. When you're looking at the comprehensive plan and the outline, I want you to say, so what do you call that thing? When you're looking at this area and you're looking up at it, what are you calling it?
I gotta rely on Fred. I didn't grow up in this area, so I don't know what all the mountains are called.
It doesn't matter. Whatever you call it, then we put in captions, it's this facility. See what I'm saying?
But everybody knows is, for Liz, everybody knows it's the fresh air fund.
Right.
Okay.
But I think she's referring to views. So if you see a mountain and it's very, nice and undeveloped, what do you call that so that we can
fresh
say we
air
want to
fund.
preserve the look of that?
It's the Fresh Air Fund property, and it's located in the southern part of the town, south of I-84, east of Route 9. And we describe it. So we name it, what do people call it? And then we describe what it is. And then you've nailed that down. You've made a list of something that maybe could be mapped or noted, and then maybe either regulated or protected. So the specifics help.
I believe, Kevin, that property might even back up to the Taconic
property.
The Taconic state property up in the mountains. And you also know up that mountain too, but not in that section, is the Beacon water supply.
Okay.
That's where Beacon gets their water from, up in that mountain off of, it's in Putnam County. You got to go up East Mountain Road north.
So are you talking about over?
That's in Putnam County, but that backs up to this too.
Okay.
So Liz, what you're saying is this would be the section where we would put all of those things, what we want to preserve visually wise, as well as open space.
Right. And list it in whatever language comes to you, and we find a way to describe it and put it down. So the Fresh Air Fund is a camp facility located such and such, is approximately so many acres of land. It's visible from these roads. And that nails down what it is that's important that people want to keep seeing. And so then how do we protect it?
Hey, Fred, what's the mountain called right behind the Home Depot that's up there that you always see on 9?
Home Depot? Oh, that backs up to Mount Beacon.
Does it have, because I know there's like different
Yeah,
range
but
of
that,
mountains
if you
there. I'm sure
take
they all
that
have.
all the way up, that goes up to Mount Beacon.
Because that's when I always think about, oh, goodness sake, if they ever develop that.
Yeah,
That
but
would
that was bought by Scenic Hudson, or whatever their name is.
Jenny
All right.
Hudson, I think.
Well, yeah, but they,
It's a combo, hang on. It's a combination.
as I said,
It's Empire State.
okay, so Scenic Hudson bought it and then donated it to Empire State, which is New
Well,
York State.
it's a lot of things over there. It's
Yeah.
New York State land.
Yeah.
Hang on. This is New York
You know,
State.
Kevin, I tried to sell the town on the bottom, on Route 9 where it's flat. You know, you have the golf course and you have the village water supply. And over that, I had that for sale a group of years ago for $1 million. And I couldn't get anybody to buy it. I tried to get the town to buy it for their own use, recreation or whatever. And they didn't want to pull the trigger for $1 million. And the one exception was Scenic Hudson. So the guy ended up selling to Scenic Hudson for $1 million. And then somewhere along the line, the state bought it.
Okay.
State owns a lot of property, you know, for us.
It's good.
They really do.
Good. It's fine.
There is a Scenic Hudson piece. I don't want to keep clicking around because I don't want to
Yeah.
go into the weeds, but so that is the kind of scribbling that we can come back to as we go through this outline.
All right. Are we going to wrap this up?
It really matters how much time you spend looking and
Yeah.
just riff, just look at what's in the plan. Think about what you don't like, you do like, what you think could be done better, what hasn't been done. You know, I can look up some of what's been done and put that in, you know, looking at code and so forth, but so.
I guess our next assignment.
That's kind of your next assignment is, if you could, go back to the plan and start scribbling in it, but also look at the outline that I started. I know it's not fetching, it doesn't have pictures in it, but it's the beginning of me taking an outline from your comprehensive plan, trying to plug in what I think I see has been done. And if it looks like I haven't written anything in there, I either didn't get to it yet, or it wasn't a hot issue, or I'm not sure what's been done or not. And maybe that means nothing's been done about certain things. But, you know.
I want to try and moving along. When do you think you and Greg are going to be able to have the information regarding the survey?
I was actually going to ask, how is the survey being handled?
Well,
Who's looking at them?
I'll tell you.
And did you need assistance from us with that?
Right.
Okay, go, Greg.
Okay, so I am collecting the paper ballots, if you will, the paper surveys which have been completed by residents. If you, as a member of the committee, have distributed them and have received them back from any residents, and you have not yet delivered them to me, please do so. Liz and I are following up with our rec center and the local public library. I've got, I'd say, about 2 to 3 dozen hard copies that have been filled out, probably even more than that. I have not counted them yet because I have not been instructed to do so. But I have been curating those which have been received at the clerk's office in my office. And once we have all of those together, then Liz and I can schedule a time or a method by which either I or she and I together can tabulate those results. And those can then be added to the digital survey responses, which I believe Liz is tabulating herself.
Yep. And what I would like to do is, once you have all of those hard copies, I would like to bring them back to the office and scan them all. I'll scan them as individuals and create a folder. And I mean, that's going to be part of the record. And then we can work on tabulating. Go ahead. Say whatever.
Yeah, happy to do that for you.
So you guys just told us a lot of nothing.
Okay, so let
gathering
me.
the information.
Well, I
We're
haven't
working on it.
finished.
When are we going to get the
mail.
information?
hang on. So I want to tell you about the digital part. So I downloaded summary information in an Excel table and also as a kind of a, colorful thing from SurveyMonkey. And then I also spent yesterday into the evening downloading the individual responses. Now, of course, they're anonymous, but there were 316 because while I was checking, somebody did one more.
So you got 360?
I have 316.
16.
So I'm compiling a folder. I do need to tabulate whatever Greg has or scan or whatever. So Greg and I will put our heads together and make sure that those are properly scanned. What I would like to be able to do is create a folder so that if the committee wants to look at the individual responses, they can. That's the whole point of scanning the hard copies. And it's ultimately part of the record. And that's why I downloaded 316 individual ones so that you could see, because that was the only way you could see the written responses. And I
So
think
you
those are
think that
very
this will
important.
take like another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks to actually
I
file the information?
I hope to have it to you before the next meeting. That's my goal.
When's the next meeting?
So I was looking at a calendar. And I think I was looking at June. And I'm assuming we're sticking to Wednesday nights, non-town board meeting nights. So there's the possibility of Wednesday, June 8th or Wednesday, June 22nd. Does anybody have a preference?
When are you going to have it done?
I could have it done by the 8th.
Before next meeting. Yeah.
Do we need to meet twice?
No, those were the 2 option dates, June 8th or June
No.
22nd.
We can meet more than once.
No,
In that
I'm
meeting.
asking about meeting more than once to move things along.
I don't know.
Well, based
think-
on your experience, Liz, would we be donating or a whole meeting just to look at the survey?
Probably. I don't know. Maybe half.
I mean,
meeting.
hey, you know.
Wait, hang on. Maybe half a meeting. Here's my big concern. Okay. The survey is very important. We're going to try to pre-digest the results, but you'll also have the bulk of it. So you'll have the summarized aspect of it tabulated, and you'll also have the individual stuff. So you can swim in it to your heart's delight. Absolutely. And you should, because you put a lot of time and energy into creating that survey, and now you've gotten the responses, and it's very important. My concern is that we not lose sight in the long run. So sort of for the next month, I'm going to be working with Greg to get that out to you before the next meeting. And that next meeting will probably be substantially about that. I would suggest that would be June 8th. Then what I'm asking is, after we've chewed on the survey results, that the meeting we could have a second meeting in June. We could
That's what the question is.
I don't have a problem with it.
And the 22nd.
Yes, but what I'm asking is, so if I get the survey stuff out and we devote June 8th to dealing with the survey stuff and the big ideas from that I would love to get back on June 22nd and get back to this outline.
That's what I vote for.
So we're going to do the survey on the 8th and then get back to everything else on the 22nd?
I might have a conflict on the 22nd, but
I can do both.
Okay.
Well,
And then,
or we could wait till July 6th.
now let's not wait that
no,
long.
I could check. You could go with June 22nd, and then I could see if I have a conflict, but it's all right.
Yeah, I think I could do both.
Yeah, and I could do both, but yeah.
So we're talking June 8th survey and June 22nd, back to the outline.
Okay. And then,
Promise?
yeah, and then are we going to go live to any meeting, or are we just going to stay Zoom?
I don't know. How does the committee feel?
I gotta check on that June 22nd because I'll be doing the primaries. So I gotta check out what time is the primary that day. I don't know if it's gonna be a late night or an early day, but June 8th is okay.
What about, I mean, here's another thought. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything special about June 29th, except that school is out. And it's right before the 4th of July weekend, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the 22nd safer.
Yeah. 8th and
Yeah, we
22nd.
could go for the 22nd. I think it's gonna be an early one. So yeah, let's go for it.
Another thought
And
is
at
if
the
we're,
same
if we're going to do some kind of a public information meeting, once you get into July and August, it's not very good for getting the public turning out to meetings. So if we're gonna do that, we probably want to wait till like September to do something like that.
I think that's fine because I think we'll have plenty of work to do to pull something together that the public can react to. I think we'll need the time.
Yeah.
Because you guys have two big homework assignments right now. I'm not saying you're doing all the work. It's just that I can always look at the old comprehensive plan and already started to poke around and see what's been done. But there are certain things that I'm not going to necessarily be able to find that are part of you living in the community and knowing it, and being part of it, and knowing what your neighbors care about. So.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Well, again, are we doing live or are we doing Zoom?
I think for June 8th, we're definitely going to be on Zoom. We're not going to be in person for June 8th. Is that what you're trying to say, Mr. Kessler? You want to be live June 8th?
Well, if we have just a few members, we can do more being together than we can in Zoom.
Why?
I don't know. This is what I suggest. I suggest that Mr. Cantor sends out his email to the people, to the supervisor, expressing concern about people who are not attending.
I've already done that.
Those people. Right. Well, this is what I'm saying, but let me finish my sentence. So let them say whether or not they're going to stay or go. But I don't think that June 8th should be in person. I think June 8th is chewing away at the data. And so June 22nd is more of a formalization of the data that we've already chewed on the 8th. So then we can move forward because now we have another goal to deal with. So if you're trying to be in person, I think the 22nd would probably better suit us than June 8th. That's all I'm saying. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
And if we're gonna go in person. I guess I'll have to work with Greg, but I either need to know that everybody's gonna right. That town hall's available. Good point, of course. Yeah. But also it's a matter of, am I bringing handouts for everybody or is everybody bringing their own stuff?
We have an overhead projector there. You can do the exact same thing we do here. You just hook it in. We use it for the town board.
I see what you're saying. Yep. I know what you, when you say overhead projector, I'm sorry.
I don't mean overhead projector. I mean
transparencies. I'm old,
TV.
man. You know, it's just like.
But whatever you call it.
Okay.
We're going to wheel in the VCR with the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, whatever it is.
Put our heads down on the table. We'll have some quiet time.
So why don't we aim for doing Zoom June 8th and then Greg, can you find out about us using, like, would we use the big meeting room with that overhead projector thing that he's talking about?
I can certainly look into the town board meeting room, but it does it does bear mentioning that if we're going to use that we're going to need to arrange for the videographer to be present as we do record and broadcast all of these meetings. So if we're not doing Zoom, then we will need the videographer to be available. So I'd say it would behoove us to confirm his availability for that date as soon as possible, and I'm happy to check with him tomorrow.
Does Megan have to be there?
I'd like her to be there, but I don't know.
Megan usually just moderates the Zoom.
No, I don't know. She's attorney for the town. She's
Yeah,
representing.
I'm assuming the committee would want me there.
Okay.
I think it would be good.
But also, I mean, so maybe if Megan or someone else can't make it, they could also be via Zoom if there's a laptop or something like that. I think that being an option for people who are maybe a little.
Well, Megan, are you available? She's right there. We can just ask her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm available for either Zoom or in person. I mean, I think last time we had discussed maybe doing like a hybrid situation.
Hybrid.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because not everybody can necessarily make it out. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's easier just to do this. So having that option is a nice, allowing people to maybe be able to participate if they wouldn't be able to. So we're saying goodnight?
Yes.
I think so. Great work.
So June
9
8th,
o'clock.
we're following up. Yeah.
Yes, I got a long day tomorrow.
Yeah, early day.
All right.
Night,
Sounds good.
Jonathan, Jonathan, are you going to be there early tomorrow? I got to talk to you.
I will be there a little bit early, but not too early.
All right.
Can't
All right.
guarantee it, Fred.
All right.
Great
I'll be
work.
lucky if I'm
All
there.
right, I'm going to end the meeting.
Okay, bye.
Great work, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Good
Night.
night, everyone.